Right, well, here I am at Gorilla Havens Lodge, Rushaka Gorilla Havens Lodge at Bwindi impenetrable forest in Uganda. Yesterday I finally did something I've wanted to do all my life, and I went gorilla trekking. I had booked the full day habituation experience, which meant that I would get as much as 4 hours with the gorillas once we found them. I knew it was going to be difficult. It was a lot more difficult than I expected, and I'm amazed that I actually managed to do it. I did 12,000 paces walking on some pretty difficult terrain. What an adventure. We started out at, well before dawn, drove down to the office for the Forest Conservation Service, picked up a guide, 2 armed rangers. They had AK-47 rifles, which were really there for making a noise if we encountered anything like forest elephants, which are a subspecies that are shy and quite aggressive, or any other creatures that might cause us some harm. We then met up with 3 trackers who were going to go ahead of us walking and find the gorillas and lead us into where they were. We had a really good heads up in that there was the troop of gorillas that we were looking for had been seen bedding down the night before, and there was a good chance that if we got there early enough we'd catch them soon after they'd woken up, basically having their breakfast. The journey up there was just amazing, terrifying, all those adjectives that you can think of. It was a dirt road that, because of the recent rains, was rutted, falling apart, big potholes. It wasn't much wider than the vehicle, and in places there wasn't anything to stop you for about 2,000 feet if you went off the road or if the road collapsed. It was a pretty horrendous ride up there, I've got to say, and my heart was in my mouth several times. But when we finally got to the drop-off point and started walking, which was a walk that really made Cad West, if you know the Mount Loop, like going upstairs to bed. Quite frankly, this was hard walking. I'd taken walking poles. I'd hired a Sherpa to carry my bags, which turned out to be brilliant in the end, because I was able to access my cameras and put them back while my bag was on his back, so it made it a lot easier once we found the gorillas. He was absolutely amazing. He looked like a tall Maasai type tribesman. He was a gentleman. He was incredibly strong. He held on to me on some places where I would never ever have gone, not in a million years. But he was just brilliant. Anyway, we got up this hill, and after 18 minutes we got a call from the trackers. Floella, the guide from the office, she was listening to them. It sounded like animal noises, but they had these contact code calls that they were making, so it didn't sound like people coming up through the forest. And they could hear the gorillas breathing and eating. Once I got up there, they were quite plain to see, but they were really well hidden at the same time. Predominantly females that we could see right inside the bushes, with the occasional arm coming out and reaching at the best leaves on the top, and that would disappear into the bush, and you could hear them eating. And you could hear them contact calling. It was like they were chatting over breakfast. And eventually we saw several of them right out in the open that were feeding, and I've got some amazing pictures of them feeding from as little as 5 feet away. I never used anything more than a 24 to 250 millimeter lens, and generally that was about 125 mil to about 180 mil. And the silverback came up between the bushes. It was just amazing. I've got to say it was pretty overwhelming, and I struggled a bit to get pictures because it was pretty emotional. I freely admit I had tears in my eyes and couldn't see through the camera properly. It was very cold up the top of the mountain still in the morning, so I was hot from walking. I steamed my camera up, I steamed my glasses up, and in the end I was pretty much shooting blind at some of the opportunities that were there. I just had to point the camera at it and see the hazy image in the viewfinder and rely on the autofocus and everything else that the camera did to get the shots. It was absolutely magical. And then they started to move on, and the walking got more and more difficult, and they got into much deeper cover. And we spent 3¼ hours with them in total. And I got to the point where I'd already looked at the pictures that I'd got. I knew that I'd got pictures that I was happy with, and I was a bit fearful for my own safety. As you know, I've got an artificial knee, and I decided probably it was best not to carry on. I didn't want to risk spoiling the rest of the trip by, you know, trying to get something better than what I'd already got that was great. So we left there probably about an hour earlier than maybe I should have done, or we were due to leave. We had to drive back. I had a couple of beers with something to eat back here at the lodge, and had a couple of hours sleep afterwards. I've got to tell you, I ate like mad this morning. It was pretty difficult, but just it was amazing. It really was absolutely amazing. Anyway, I'll report back to you all later and let you know how today goes. We're doing a pretty soft day today that's all birding. I'm hoping to get Hadada ibis and the cranes and some of the kingfishers that we saw. I'm also hopeful to get some better pictures of the long-toed lapwings, because they're one of my favourite birds, so I'd really like to come home with some great shots of them. And anyway, sun's coming up and my breakfast's ready, and I've got to meet my driver at 8 o'clock. So I'll speak later. Bye-bye.